Hello, everybody, and welcome to Confluence Concert's May Festival. This is our second program in our retrospective of our 2020-2021 season. We're in a celebratory mood at the end of this season and thought it would be a nice idea to reflect back on this unusual and strange online time that we've had together and provide an opportunity for those of you who weren't able to enjoy some of our concerts to enjoy them, and for those who were to revisit them, your favorite moments. I'm very grateful to my colleagues Suba, Sankaran, Patricia O'Callaghan, Marion, Newman, and Andrew Downing for all of the creative energy that they have put into this season, to our managing director Jennifer Collins, to all of our donors and sponsors, to the government agencies who support us year after year, and most importantly to the audience, the viewing audience, who have been enjoying these programs and sending emails and phone messages and maintaining our very warm and important community here at Confluence Concerts. We look forward to a time when we can all be together in the same room again. Let's hope that that is not too far in the future. In the meantime, please enjoy a Billy Strayhorn celebration, Something to Live For, curated by Andrew Downing. Hello, my name is Larry Beckwith, and I'm the artistic producer of Confluence Concerts, and I'd like to warmly welcome you to Something to Live For, a Billy Strayhorn celebration. We are all grateful to Artistic Associate Andrew Downing for bringing this beautiful program to Confluence, and it's a very fitting way to begin our 2020-2021 season. In these pandemic times, we are of course sorry that we can't all be together in the same room, but we would like to try to replicate as closely as possible the live experience, and one of our traditions at Confluence is to present a pre-show chat where people can get background on the artists and the music in the program. So Andrew Downing is going to introduce our pre-show chat for this program, and I will hand it over to him now.
So I would like to welcome Walter van der Leur, a professor at the Conservatory of Amsterdam and the University of Amsterdam in jazz and improvised music, and the author of a book called Something to Live For, the Music of Billy Strayhorn. And we're just going to have a little chat about the life and the music of Billy Strayhorn. Welcome.
Thank you.
I would like to just open up by talking about Billy Strayhorn as a young man. A lot of the compositions that we're going to be featuring tonight are music that he wrote when he was very young. Can you let us know some things about him when he was young?
Yeah, he started out wanting to be a classical pianist. It was pretty much an idea he developed on his own. He picked up a little piano with family. Away from home. At his house there was no musical instrument to be found, and so he started doing errands and delivering newspapers to save money, and finally managed to get a broken player piano, which was then brought into the otherwise very sparsely furnitured living room. It was really from a poor family in Pittsburgh, and saved enough money or made enough money doing errands to get piano lessons. And there's actually some theory exercises that survive from when he was in his early teens, and they look pretty advanced. So it shows that he apparently, at least his theory teacher thought that he could handle these pretty advanced theoretical assignments. And he became the errand boy for a local drugstore, and people would call in and order stuff from the drugstore, and word got around that ask for Billy because he's his great musician, and he delivered the goods, and he'll play a little piano, and he would pick up an extra tip like that. So word got out. Word got out that he was a talented musician, and eventually he played with his high school orchestra as the designated soloist, and started composing, started writing things very much in a classical vein, and gradually also in a more theatrical vein. He was definitely interested in the music of Gershwin, Cole Porter, or along those lines, and he used that and wrote stuff along those lines.
Can I ask you about one composition in particular that we're featuring in tonight's concert, which is My Little Brown Book, which I guess was from a very early musical that he wrote, one of the surviving pieces. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's one of the pieces from a little show he wrote for Stunt Day, which was the graduating class would put on something, and he actually had graduated from high school, but the class that came after him pretty much, got him into writing music for a show which he called Fantastic Rhythm. That sounds a bit Gershwin-esque.
For sure, yeah.
And some music of that survives, and some of these pieces, like My Little Brown Book, were from that show. It's a bit difficult to exactly, a lot of it is lost, and a lot of it is unclear what it is. So there, quite some of his early papers survive, but it's not so easy to figure out what goes where, and for instance when he wrote it. So that is always with a little conjecture. But the show was extremely successful, and to the point that when he had long forgotten about it, others were producing it and were traveling with it. So it was, and definitely changed things and added things to it, but it had a life well after the stunt day at his high school.
Oh, that's nice. And can I ask you about one other composition from his early times, which is Lush Life, which is one of his most famous pieces of music, and as far as I'm concerned, one of his most beautiful pieces of music. It's so emotional and heartfelt. He was a very young man when he wrote this piece, and from what I understand, he wrote the music first, and the lyrics came later. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. The problem with Lush Life is that there is no early manuscript for it. So, and we don't even know whether he even ever notated something. He just, created the piece and remembered it and would play it whenever appropriate, whenever he felt like it. And to a lot of people, it was known as the thing that Billy would play if there was some social gathering or a party, and they would finally get him over at the piano, and he would play something, and then people would say, sing that one song, and which had no title. And actually the earliest manuscripts that survived, but that's when the song has been in circulation for a while, have as title "Life is Lonely."
Huh. Interesting.
Because that is the sort of the opening line of the chorus. Life is lonely again. But people remembered the line, the words from the last line, "I'll live a lush life." And so that's how it got to be called Lush Life.
Interesting. There is a recording that I heard on the internet of Billy Strayhorn himself singing that song, and it sort of sounds like it's at a gathering of some sort. Like it sounds like exactly what you're describing, and I guess it was from his life.
That is a recording from Basin Street East, a club in 1964, and he sings it there. It's slightly out of tune, but it's my favorite version because Lush Life has become this really overbearing torch song in the hands of a lot of performers, right? The tempo, it almost stops, and it's this heartbreaking, wrenching. But he sings it like remembering, the teenager he was, writing these He's sort of world-weary lyrics, and so there's a lot of irony in it, I think, in his rendition, and it's highly recommended.
Yeah.
And also, he's a great singer, but the performance is far from perfect. It's sort of impromptu. I suspect they had sort of a sound problem on stage. He couldn't hear himself that well. Some people maintain that he may have had a glass too many. That's also a possibility, of course. Maybe all that adds up, but it's a version I would direct people to immediately.
Yeah. So moving on from Pittsburgh, as a young arranger and composer, Billy Strayhorn, of course, got the chance to work with Duke Ellington, and this was a huge moment. It would have been a huge moment in anybody's life. I feel like it was a huge moment in both of their lives to meet. I mean, I feel like, of course, it was a huge moment in both of their lives. And perhaps you can sort of talk about some of the early things the early experiences that Billy would have had with Duke Ellington.
Yeah. Again, we don't know. You know, they didn't go on record with detailed stories about that, but there is some things we definitely do know. And he was more or less reluctantly pushed into Ellington's direction. He didn't really know, what to do with that or what to make of it. And Ellington at first wasn't interested either, because probably everywhere he played, the local talent would be shown to him, and people would, be soliciting for jobs or anything. But Strayhorn played for Ellington during intermission, during 2 shows, and Ellington was deeply impressed. And one of the pieces he actually performed was Lush Life, and Ellington basically hired him as a lyricist. So he felt that he could use him as a lyricist. But very quickly handed over what Ellington called the vocal wing of the band. The band traveled with vocalists. I was part of their, they were a dance band. People would ask for the latest hits. Ellington would have them on the repertoire, even though he wasn't that interested in playing that kind of music. And, within weeks there would be another hit of the day, and then they would perform that as well. So there was a constant need for arrangements for the singers in the band. At the time, 1939, it was only Ivy Anderson, but later there would be different singers. And at the same time, Ellington also was himself always interested in having a hit along those lines, because that brought in nice money. So he was sort of covering the whole range from complex stuff to more accessible stuff, and he was always looking for the hit, because that could keep him going. So within weeks, Strayhorn basically got the vocal wing and started writing all the vocal arrangements, and he would do that for most of the stuff that the orchestra recorded. If it has a vocalist in it, pretty big chance it's a Strayhorn chart.
I see. Can I ask you a question about a couple of particular compositions? Again, it's pieces that we're doing tonight that were some of the early ones that he wrote for the band, and which is Passion Flower and Daydream. And from what I've read, he wrote these for Johnny Hodges to play on the alto saxophone. But these 2 songs also have beautiful lyrics, and they feel like a song as opposed to an instrumental composition. Do you know sort of what the genesis of these tunes would have been, or what the purpose of them would have been for the band?
I think they both started as instrumentals, but it's very well possible that while he was writing them and figuring them out, that he had lyrics in mind. But the first recording is an instrumental for both of these, and it's not that you can that you see that he's already working with lyrics, or a lot of these pieces would come about in that way. You know, so for the Ellington band, it would first be an instrumental. Then, if people liked it, then you know there could be potential for lyrics, which always makes it easier for audiences to engage with the music.
That actually brings up an interesting question I have, or just something that I've noticed is that that researching a little bit about the pieces that we're playing, a lot of them were renamed and repurposed, it seems. A song like Star-Crossed Lovers, which was included in Such Sweet Thunder, which is a suite sort of based on the work of William Shakespeare that the Ellington Band did. Pretty Girl was, I guess, a song that Strayhorn had earlier that he repurposed for this suite, and it seems like even a tune like Isfahan that we're doing had an earlier title. There's a tune called Charpoy that we're playing that also had an earlier title, and it's interesting that you mentioned that. So as the band was evolving and moving, I guess Strayhorn could have used earlier compositions and just changed them for the situation and the purpose.
Yeah, although at times it was Ellington. It was the so-called suites, so the longer, the extended works like the Shakespeare suite or an early suite, a perfume suite. It was basically Ellington bringing together pieces he had been working on, pieces Strayhorn had been working on, and then finding a new narrative around the music, which could be from very disparate sources and could have very different backgrounds and genesis to them, and then refiguring that and Ellington was also very much interested in stories. I feel his music is always narrative, and he very often came up with a story and then wrote music to that, or the other way around, music triggered a story in him. It was also how he communicated with audiences. And these pieces you mentioned did indeed end up in these suites. Isfahan is from the Far East suite, and it salutes the beautiful city in Persia, Isfahan, and you believe it immediately. This is, this is about that city, yes. But no, the piece was done before Strayhorn ever laid eyes on Isfahan, right. And it really had a very different idea to it. But he was not so much into retitling. I think it was more an Ellington thing to find new titles, especially if things had to be fitted in a suite. So Pretty Girl has no place in Shakespeare, but the Star-Crossed Lovers has.
Of course, and
yeah. So then they slapped a new title on it, and that's how it lived on. And there was also a piece written well before they were thinking about Shakespeare, or that was even an idea.
And actually, that piece of music opens up another topic of conversation that is quite important to when talking about Billy Strayhorn. Our rendition of Pretty Girl has the title. We've actually changed it to Pretty Boy. And Billy Strayhorn was gay, and he was openly gay at a time when that must have been very difficult for a man in America to be gay, and for a black man in America to be gay. How much? I guess the question is just: do you feel like Billy Strayhorn's life and his lifestyle contributed to his music, or to the way that his music sounds and feels, or do you feel like it was just an aspect of his life that he was dealing with?
It's a complicated question, of course. I think people always write from who they are. So if this is part of your identity, then that somehow works out. On the other hand, there are no gay chords. It's sometimes that people say, "Oh yeah, you can hear it. All the flowery titles and all the beautiful music," as if that is what a gay man would only be interested in. That's a strange thought, right? And that's also, if you read about There are some great scholars who are comparing Ellington and Strayhorn. They kind of drive it in that masculinity or more feminine ideas, and that is not very helpful, and really drives home all the cliches there are. There is, I think, a register that Strayhorn is addressing in his music that I must admit, while I was writing my music, was largely lost on me, but scholars who came after me have shown that, for instance, the Nutcracker Suite, which is an Ellington Strayhorn suite for which Strayhorn wrote most of the music, was his idea, and also had different currency in gay circles.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And it's almost like what the Eurovision Song Festival in Europe is. That's a gay celebration. People who go there sympathize with that, either with those ideas or are gay themselves, and the music is gradually maybe playing on those, or at least facilitating the audience as well.
Yeah.
So there are things in Strayhorn's music where he is probably sort of signaling to an inner circle of very sophisticated New York gay circles in which he moved, of dancers, actors, writers, photographers, filmers. A lot of gay people are active in the field of culture for all kinds of reasons. And Strayhorn was a tremendously loved and respected person in those circles. So you can imagine them being at a party and being enthusiastic about the Nutcracker, which is basically the Christmas, the Christmas thing. And then Strayhorn picking up the idea of, what, I'm going to do that with the Ellington band.
Yeah.
We don't know, but it definitely has currency. Tchaikovsky was a gay composer. Those were things that Strayhorn definitely would know. Mm-hmm. That was, and if you're a minority, then you're always siding with people who are in your minority group. So you can sort of imagine that was part of what inspired him at times, because at other times apparently there were other things that made him do things.
I see. Yeah. Well, I think this is all we have time for in our conversation. Thank you so much for speaking with us about Billy's life, about his music. It's a real pleasure to talk to you and to meet you, and I look forward to talking with you another time.
Thank you, and enjoy the concert, everybody.
Thank you very much. Take care. Hello, and welcome to the first concert of the Confluence season. I'm Andrew Downing, part of the artistic team at Confluence Concerts, and it has been my distinct pleasure to have put together this concert of the music of one of my musical heroes, Billy Strayhorn. This concert was mostly recorded over a couple of days at Heliconian Hall in Toronto, but in true COVID style, some of the bits were recorded in isolation in various basements and cottages around Ontario. Billy Strayhorn was an American composer and arranger born in 1915 who grew up poor in the Homewood area of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. As a young man, he saved up enough money doing odd jobs and deliveries for a drugstore to buy a piano and to study piano and composition. His first love was classical music, but the classical world wasn't particularly welcoming to black musicians, so Billy started exploring theater music and jazz through the recordings of pianists such as Art Tatum and Teddy Wilson. In 1938, Billy got a chance to meet the great Duke Ellington after a concert in Pittsburgh, a meeting at which he showed Duke some of his arrangements. Shortly after that, impressed by the work of the young Strayhorn, Duke invited Billy to stay with him in New York to immerse himself in Ellington's compositional style so he could write for the Duke Ellington Orchestra. Thus, one of the greatest musical partnerships in American history was born. Billy worked as an arranger, a lyricist, composer, and sometimes pianist with Duke Ellington's band for the rest of his life, which ended all too soon in 1967. Though he was always publicly in the shadow of his boss, Strayhorn's music has always shone through. The collection of songs we're performing in this program consists of some songs, some instrumental compositions, some directly from Strayhorn's sheet music, some transcribed and reworked from recordings, some of my own original arrangements specifically for this concert, and some of my arrangements reorchestrated from older arrangements written for other projects. It has been such a pleasure to put this program together. I have loved Strayhorn's music for a long time, and digging into it deeply enough to give the songs the respect they deserve in the arranging process only made me love the songs more. Thank you to Larry Beckwith and to the whole Confluence team for letting me run wild with this program. Thanks to the tremendous singers and instrumentalists who lovingly performed the music. And most of all, thanks to Billy Strayhorn for writing such gorgeous music. We're going to begin tonight with a song called Love Came, sung by Marion Newman, accompanied by our pianist, Alexa Belgrave.
I've waited and waited and waited and waited and waited and wanted all away. I've wandered about, then suddenly out of the clear blue sky one fine day. Love came as a dulcet tone, humming up above, suspended to one who'd been so much alone. It said your doldrum blues are ended, petals of red roses rare, strewn along the path to guide me. The breath of spring had filled the air. I had my love of loves beside me. It was I who heard the song, running drunk on love's expectant wine. Wine tune, sunflower of the moon, the whole universe was mine. Then I came down, feet on the ground, and then asked to love what next we'd play. I'll never know why, but with a bit of a sigh, love turned and walked
In 1956, the Duke Ellington Orchestra were performing in Stratford, Ontario, and Duke struck up a conversation with some Stratford Festival organizers and decided to write and record a suite of music based on the works of William Shakespeare to be performed at the 1957 edition of the Stratford Festival. Such Sweet Thunder was the name of the suite, and Star-Crossed Lovers, written to represent Romeo and Juliet, was a Billy Strayhorn composition repurposed for the suite, originally called Pretty Girl. Performing this piece will be Alex Samaras, and joining us will be Leighton Harrell on double bass, Jurecka on viola, Aline Homzy on violin, and myself on cello.
smile. Come spend a while with unhappy me. Pretty boy, you standing there, won't you come share my eternity? You could make me the glad one that I wanna be, instead of the sad one that you see. Won't you give just one smile? Let me live for a little while. Pretty boy, you with the eyes, won't you surprise me one fine day? Instead of the sad one that you see. Won't you give just one smile? Let me live for a little while. Pretty boy, you with the eyes, won't you surprise me one fine
This next piece was written shortly after the period of Strayhorn's life in which he was living at Duke Ellington's house in New York to study Duke's writing style. One of the things Strayhorn took from this study was Ellington's ability to write for particular musicians. Passion Flower was written as an instrumental piece to feature the great alto saxophonist Johnny Hodges, but knowing it might have a life outside of the original arrangement, Strayhorn also wrote a set of lyrics for the song. Please welcome Suba Sankaran to sing this one.
are in flight, laughing through the night. Your lips keep taunting me, not wanting me, yet haunting me each day. Stay with me, my passion flower. You're all I'm dreaming of. Passion flower, I love my passion flower. Ooh, passion flower, my passion flower. My passion
This next piece is part of the album The Far East Suite, inspired by the Ellington Band's tour to the Near East in 1964. Isfahan, named after a city in Iran, was actually written before the tour took place and originally titled Elf, also for alto saxophonist Johnny Hodges. The Near East Suite was recorded in 1966, just a few months before Billy Strayhorn's death. A favorite of jazz musicians, this will feature our double bassist, Leighton Harrell. Daydream is another early work for Ellington's band. This piece was also written to feature Johnny Hodges. Billy Strayhorn was openly gay, which was particularly courageous at the time, and I originally wrote this arrangement for the Queer Songbook Orchestra here in Toronto, who did a program of Billy Strayhorn's music in a series celebrating gay composers. Please welcome Patricia O'Callaghan. This is Your Love Has Faded, one of Strayhorn's very early works composed while he was still living in Pittsburgh, written for his jazz trio the Mad Hatters, which was modeled after the Benny Goodman Trio. Please welcome the Confluence artistic producer Larry Beckwith to sing this one for us.
Your love has faded, it's not what it used to be. You don't belong to me completely. Your kiss is colder, there's none of that old desire. desire, none of that burning fire that thrilled me. I don't know what has changed you. I've never been untrue. Someone has rearranged you, and all I get for being true is just a frozen kiss or two. Your love has faded, the flame that once burned so bright has faded into the night, has faded into the night. Lately I've begun to see that what was once your love for me has turned into a not too warm affection. Even your caress, which used to have such fine finesse, is but an empty gesture of what it used to be. Your love has faded, it's not what it used to be. You don't belong to me completely. Your kiss is colder, there's none of that old desire, none of that burning fire that thrilled me. I don't know what has changed you. I've never been untrue. Someone has rearranged you, and all I get for being true is just a frozen kiss or two. Your love has faded, the flame that once burned so bright has faded into the night, has faded into the night.
Next up is an instrumental composition called Johnny Come Lately. It was written in 1942, originally called Mo, and recorded with the title Stomp, and was a tribute to the terminally ill bassist from Duke Ellington's orchestra, Jimmy Blanton. Mo was Billy's nickname for Blanton. The arrangement of this tune is heavily based on a version of the tune from a record called Great Times, which features Billy and Duke playing piano duets, and this will feature our cottage-bound string players, Drew Jurecka, Aline Homzy, and me. Next is a beautiful little gem of a song called Something to Live For, one of the first recorded works for Ellington's band, but originally written for the Mad Hatters while Strayhorn was still in Pittsburgh. Lush Life is perhaps Strayhorn's most famous song, started when he was only 16 years old, finished when he was 20. It is highly regarded in jazz circles and is a remarkably mature piece of music for such a young person to have written. It has been recorded numerous times and became quite famous when Nat King Cole recorded it in 1949. There is a rare recording of Strayhorn himself singing and playing the song from Basin Street East in New York in 1964. This arrangement was also part of the Queer Songbook Orchestra's performance of Billy Strayhorn's music.
I used to visit all the very gay places, those come what may places, where one relaxes on the axis of the wheel of life to get the feel of life from jazz and cocktails. The girls I knew had sad and sullen gray faces with distant gay traces that used to be there. You could see where they'd been washed away by too many through the day. 12 o'clock tales. Siren song to tempt me to madness. I thought for a while that your poignant smile was tinged with the sadness of a great love for me. Ah, yes, I was wrong. Again, I was wrong. Life is lonely again, and only last year everything seemed so sure. Now life is awful again. A trough full of hearts would only be a bore. A week in Paris will ease the bite of it. All I care is to smile in spite of it. I'll forget you, I will, while yet you are still burning inside my brain. Romance is mush, stifling those who strive. I'll live a lush life in some small dive, and there I'll be while I rot with the rest of those whose lives are lonely too.
This next tune was originally called Lana Turner, then copyrighted Francesca, and then eventually called Charpoy in the 1960s. The instrumentation of this tune is a nod to double bassist Oscar Pettiford, who worked a lot with Duke Ellington. Pettiford broke his arm in 1949, and playing the double bass was difficult, so he played the cello to allow him to continue to perform while he was healing. Though not on this particular tune, Pettiford is featured playing cello on the aforementioned album Great Times. This will feature our violinist Aline, and me playing bass on the cello. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. This is A Flower is a Lovesome Thing, another one written for Johnny Hodges. Strayhorn used the images of flower in so many of his titles, and this particular song is rife with floral imagery. This is My Little Brown Book, one of the few surviving songs from an early musical, Fantastic Rhythm, that Strayhorn wrote while he was in Pittsburgh.
1, 2,
haunting me in some quiet nook. I go through its pages and peruse this ageless tale of a love that failed to ever become true. On this page is the date of that fateful night at 8 when I found we were no longer in love. After that there's nothing more, just a dark and futile door that shuts out the stars above. In my little book I inscribe your heart vow, but since we're apart now, this and that last sweet kiss is all that's left of you, is all that's left of you. Of that fateful night at 8 when I found we were no longer in love. After that there's nothing more, just a dark and futile door that shuts out the stars above. In my little book I inscribe your heart vow, but since we're apart now, this and that last sweet kiss is all that's left of you, is all that's left of you.
We're going to finish the program with one of Ellington's favorite Strayhorn pieces. In the final years of his life, Ellington paid increasing homage to Billy Strayhorn in his concerts, and he often closed his concerts with a contemplative solo piano performance of this piece, Lotus Blossom, which can be heard also as the closer on an album recorded shortly after Billy Strayhorn's death called And His Mother Called Him Bill. And playing this lovingly for us tonight is the unsung hero of our program, Alexa Belgrave. We hope you've enjoyed the concert. We hope you'll tune in to this YouTube channel for the rest of the season, and see you all very soon.